Haven here. I know I don't often do the live streams out of the blue, but in today's broadcast, I really wanted to dive into the JFK files that were just released. Hopefully, you guys can hear me. Give me a thumbs up if you can, as far as that is concerned. But you're going to have to bear with me a little bit because I've got two phones here that I'm going to use to kind of go through all of these details. Perfect. Okay, good. I see your responses now. But I know I posted a video earlier. I'm kind of out and about on a little vacation. Beautiful spot here, by the way. Ocean, at the ocean, got to have some vacation sometimes. So beautiful. Beautiful. Anyway, but I wanted to make sure you guys had the information regarding the JFK files. But for starters, let's start first with this. About a couple of weeks ago, I showed an audio recording here on my channel. And this audio recording was dropped by Billy Soul Estes' grandson. And he dropped it on InfoWars' Alex Jones. And I want to give this video recording a recap before I get into the latest drops on JFK, because I believe it plays a huge part and some of you may not have heard it. But basically, this recording is a recording between Billy Soul Estes and then Clifton Carter, who was the executive director at the DNC, obviously at that time, and the right-hand man of Mr. Lyndon Bay Johnson. Okay, but in this video, and I'm hoping you guys can hear it well on this, hopefully you can hear it well, because I'm gonna play it from my other phone. Like I said, I'm on vacation. I'm gonna pull it up for you. But I'm going to put it here and you guys can kind of see what I'm talking about. But this is really huge, and it's going to be the precursor to what we found in the JFK files so far. But here it is. Take a listen. First part of that audio recording.
Sure good to see you. How's life treating you today? Well, Saul, it's been a pretty touch and go situation. Linda and I have had quite a few unpleasant words here lately over the deal with that he hired Mike Wallace to assassinate the president. It's been hectic in every way, but we've lived through it this far, and I guess we'll continue to do so. Lyndon should have never issued that order to Mike, but we've had our differences, and I'm a true blue to Lyndon, as I've always been, and tried to carry out every order that he's ever given me. But this is one I'll probably never be able to forget.
Okay, so in case you guys want to know where that video is, if you couldn't hear it in its full on that, I'm going to leave a link in the comment. I'm going to post it to the comments, and the video is going to be in there. It's about the 1 minute and 30-minute marker-ish on that particular video. So let me cut this right here.
What am I supposed to do?
So I thought this girl was working out like crazy, but
Okay.
she wasn't. I met her yesterday.
Technical difficulty there. Okay, so I'm gonna leave it in the comment section pinned for you guys to watch. But basically what they said there, and I know you kind of hear it, is they're talking between each other and they're saying, hey, I'm very upset, I don't like, but basically Lyndon Bay Johnson gave the directive to some young man, and I think he calls him Mac, and he gave that direction to him to go ahead and assassinate the president. And that is what they're talking about in that clip. In other words, Lyndon Bay Johnson, according to that audio, if legit, by the way, there's some speculation on it. It is not an AI, as far as I know, but if there's legitimacy to that recording, then that is the claim that is being made between Billy Soul Estes there and the DNC executive. I mean, this is absolutely huge. Now, and I see some of your comments coming through on that. Great. But let's, and again, now that was Clifton Carter, the executive at the DNC. So with all of that, I want to go ahead and get into these JFK files, because here's the bottom line about everything. I personally believe even with this new file release, that the CIA was behind it. That is my opinion. And I also believe that Lyndon B. Johnson, if that audio is legit, could very well be linked to it as well. That is what I believe. And that is a conspiracy. But you know what? Here's the thing I'm going to say. The bombshells that are in the JFK files are, they're all right. They're not the biggest thing on the planet. I think most of us already knew some of this information. And here's the other thing, because I'm going to give you 15 points on that. Here's the other thing. I also want to say that back then, they're not going to incriminate themselves. If there really was a link between the CIA and, say, Oswald, and Oswald was working with the CIA, for example, they wouldn't document it in their paperwork. They're not going to write it out. They're not going to put it down. And that's just what I'm saying. In other words, if you're going to commit a crime, you're not going to go out advertising it, right? And I think that's why there's still some missing papers. And one of the bombshells, by the way, is there is a whole section of papers that's missing, which means missing for the government as well. Nobody knows what happens. Maybe they were shredded or something to that level. But let's start first. So here's some of the biggest bombshells. Number one, Lee Harvey Oswald was reportedly considered a poor shot during his target practice at the USSR. In other words, he couldn't shoot very well. The second one, JFK files reveal that Oswald was indeed a spy. So, that tried twice to obtain a USSR visa from Mexico City. In other words, he was looking for a way out prior. The government knew about it. They all knew about it, and they were aware of this young man, right? Which ups my suspicion. The next one here, CIA memo from September 24, 1963, confirms that Lee Harvey Oswald was under surveillance by the CIA 59 days before JFK assassination. Gee, did they know in advance that, hey, he was planning to leave the country, trying to get a visa or whatever, and, and then, 59 days before, they were aware of him and they didn't do anything at all? Kind of suspicious, right? That's why I think the CIA was definitely involved at a level, because at least they wrote that they were keeping surveillance on the man. Another one, Gary Underhill claimed the CIA was responsible for JFK's assassination. Then he was later found dead. As you know, it was ruled a suicide. Epstein didn't suicide himself. Just saying. And I don't believe that Gary Underhill did either. I mean, I believe it was a month later or whatever, and then they assassinate the guy. More to the story. Here's another one. A man named Sergei Sensnotchich, and I'm not even going to try to say that right. It's definitely wrong. Had knowledge that Oswald would be killed after assassinating Kennedy, and that Martin Luther King Jr. would also be assassinated. He knew in advance that Kennedy would be killed in Dallas. How do you know that in advance, right? Somebody knew something somewhere, and somebody didn't. There's just more to the story. Here's another one. Jack Rudy claimed that his decision to kill Oswald was influenced by his Jewish identity. Here's another one. Mere hours after Jack Ruby shot and killed Lee Harvey Oswald, FBI Director J. Edgar Hoover urgently called for a swift public report to prevent conspiracy theories from gaining traction. Why? Because he may have been involved. I don't know. Then we have Lee Harvey Oswald was allegedly under the direction of the KGB officer reportedly linked to Department V. So he's got some links there, supposedly. J. Edgar Hoover was asked whether Lee Harvey Oswald was an FBI agent, and if there was a conspiracy to assassinate JFK. He was asked about that, right? So again, J. Edgar Hoover was asked whether Lee Harvey Oswald was an FBI agent, and if there was a conspiracy to kill JFK. He was asked that. Interesting. And, my suspicions really do rise, and I think yours do as well. Then we have a letter addressed to then Senator Joe Biden. Here we go. And accused him of being a traitor. The letter was signed by JFK. You see, it seems even JFK knew that Joe Biden was a traitor back then, but you have that. It's just to call him out by name, and now this guy, or just a year-ish ago, not even that far, was the president of the United States. Did he know more? Maybe that's why he didn't drop the files. Then we have the CIA was intercepting U.S. Postal Service mail sent to the USSR and had 300 CIA members indexing 250,000 names. An interview, here's another one, an interview with FBI Assistant Director Alan Belmont on May 6, 1964, included questions about Rudy and Oswald's connections. Get this, on page 27, but many pages are missing. And it supposedly extended all the way to 473 pages. I do not believe that we have these pages to even show the public today. I believe they trashed them, took them out, and are gone because they were covering something up. As I said, you're not going to admit to the crimes you do. You're going to hide them. You're not going to write them down on paper for everybody to know, especially if the CIA or LBJ were involved. Right? Another one, a man claiming to be a Polish driver for a Russian vehicle, warning of Soviet plans to pay someone in the U.S. to assassinate the president. So apparently there were plans internationally to take him out. And then I believe just a few more here. Newly released JFK assassination records expose a failed 1955 CIA surveillance operation in Havana. And then a CIA memo reveals that agency officers claim they couldn't recall Watergate burglar James McCord's involvement in Cuban operations. And then I believe JFK sought to dismantle the CIA's independent authority. I wonder why you would want to do that, right? Maybe because talking about a deep state, Donald Trump calls it a deep state. Maybe there's more to the story there. I also have JFK Files reveals CIA's extensive global operations, listing 34 secret field bases across Africa, Europe, Asia, and Latin America, meaning they were doing stuff all over the freaking globe. So there you go. And by the way, that's referencing a Gateway Pundit article. On some of those, they've got some great research there. It's kind of backwards here on The View, but here are some of the biggest bombshells uncovered by internet sleuths in the newly released files. So wanted to get all of that out to you guys, while I'm out and about, because I told you guys once they drop, I will leave them there for you. Anyhow, thank you guys for listening. I love you all, and I'm Lisa Haven signing out. Mwah. Love you guys.